Hi everyone, it's Mel here, and welcome to Survive and Thrive in the Holidays. So, I'm going to look at 5 ways to avoid holiday stress. Can we avoid holiday stress? Can we avoid any stress in December or any other time of the year? Sometimes we can't. Sometimes there are competing demands, like we're moving house, sorting out broken bands, as I am at the moment. Um, and dealing with different things that come up in life that is outside of our control, but we can to some degree control how we manage those situations. So welcome back, and I'm looking at how to avoid that, or 5 ways that you can think about it at least. So stress is something that everybody feels, but not always knows how to manage, and especially during holiday stress. And as I've talked about earlier, that if you've already got some stresses in your life and you've already got competing demands and even things that are meant to be on a timeline that you've got to sort out, everything that's to do with the holidays is compounding that, because it's more layers of doing stuff with the kids, dealing with the family, getting the presents or buying clothes or tickets, all of those extra things on top that we don't normally have. And it can feel joyful and fun, but it can also add those extra layers of stress. And it depends on how you cope with those things anyway. So the pressure can build up, and family expectations, work deadlines, travel plans, social events, financial worries, and an emotional load of trying to make everything special. And that can be one of the biggest stresses, is everybody wants to have the perfect Christmas or perfect holidays, or we haven't seen each other for ages. Let's make sure we all behave so that we all get on well. So, 5 practical ways to avoid holiday stress, or at least minimize it. Because if you listen to um, the last one that I did about pausing, and some of the ways that we can approach that and avoid burnout, then using some of those tactics will also help you with this too. So the first one is time block your energy, not just your tasks. So instead of squeezing endless tasks into your day, ask, how much energy do I actually have today? Sometimes we need to do that, where you wake up in the morning and there's two types generally of people. One that keeps pressing the alarm and it keeps going off for like 5 times, and then you get out of bed. And then you're like, oh, I've got to get out of bed and get ready for the day. And the other type of person who's awake before the alarm goes off, who jumps out of bed. So research has showed, and Mel Robbins did a lot on this, on the 5 second rule, that actually if you just give yourself 5 seconds to just get out of bed and don't think about it, that can be a good start to the day. But what also helps is that you tune in, you ask yourself, what is my energy levels like? So I could wake up feeling really heavy and flat, but I do some stretching and yoga, and I know that after doing that session, I feel like the blood's moving around in my system, and I can start to feel my energy moving about, which is great. And my mic's working. Um, so block time based on your realistic energy levels, not your ideal ones. So I had a conversation with somebody yesterday. And we're looking at this in terms of business, how we go through these different energetic cycles. So I can have days where I'm switched on, I've got loads of ideas, and I might even record some of these videos. And then I'll have other days where nothing, I'm blank, I can't think, and I'm really tired. And so we've been looking at these cycles that we go through. And if you're quite a creative person and you've got lots of creative things that you're overseeing, it's good to know kind of when are you at your best? Is it when you wake up in the morning at 4 or 5 o'clock and you go for the gym, you meditate, and then you start working on the key priorities that you have that day? Or are you someone that comes alive at night? And I used to write my reports after like 8 o'clock at night. It seemed to be the only time where my brain was just not distracted by all the other tasks. And I set that time to sit down and think about that. So we need to understand our energy and what our ideal situation is, even if we're not quite in our ideal situation. But it helps us to think about and tune into our needs, as well as, are we drinking enough water and eating at the right time, so that we've got the actual food energy coming through our system so that we can function, because mental analytical work actually does require a lot of mental energy. So this is about creating spaciousness and can reduce overwhelm. So tune into your body now and ask yourself, how you feel right now and what your energy feels like. And if you said, here is 100% and here is 0, and you're at 40 or 50, instantly you know you haven't got much to give, so you've got to prioritize. If you're at 100, you might work all day, go to the gym, and go and see your friends after. So it's worth looking at that. And it's hard to make plans sometimes if you're working on life in terms of cycles, but it gets you better in tune so that you tend to not go into overwhelm and into stressful periods too much, because the recovery time from stress and burnout is much greater in terms of energetic uh, effect than it is if we capture these things before they develop. So, as I talked about in the other video, say no to one thing this week. This is your holiday, December, January, February, June, and July, even permission slip. You don't need to attend every event, respond to every message, or take on every responsibility. One of the things that I noticed at work was this sort of, I must get through all these emails. So I started saying to my staff, look, let's have a RAG rated system. Red is I need a response within the next hour or two. Amber is I'd like a response by the end of the day. And green is, can you get back to me by the end of the week? Very few things are that urgent. And if you've got a presentation due and somebody wants to check in on you, then you need to ring the person and have that conversation. And there will be other things that are difficult to say no to, like the time that you pick your children up from school. But sometimes we can negotiate certain things rather than saying a direct no. And it might be, no, I'm not going out for lunch. I want to go and sit in the park. No, I don't want to go out Monday and Tuesday. I want to conserve my time and energy so I can cope with this demanding week. And especially people who work on projects or in finance, you have times of the year that is incredibly stressful because you've got deadlines to meet. So it's worth looking at what you're saying yes to and what you can then say no to. And this is about the power of reclaiming your space. Delegate without apology. So whether you are running the household or running a team, a business, this doesn't mean that you have to carry everything on your back in general, let alone what goes on in the holidays. So share the workload and ask somebody to pick up food. Different people bring different parts of the dinner. Have the kids wrap up some of the gifts or teach them, how you want the paper to, how you want it to look. Invite the guests to bring a dish. Hand off a work task instead of pushing through, and have a look at where your strengths are, what you do effortlessly without even really thinking about it, and what someone else can do effortlessly. Because sometimes we try and control absolutely everything and then get to the stage of burnout, and everybody else can feel powerless that they've wanted to do something that supports us and we've not let them. So delegation isn't weakness, it's stress prevention. I enjoyed doing that more in my last job, where I was the director of programs, and I had some staff who had not long been out of university. They were really zealous and enthusiastic about learning everything to do with the business, and I wanted to teach them all the key things that I thought would stand them in good stead for any clinical services that they went and worked in. So we shared the task of the report writing, how to do that, what data to collect, and also some of the other admin jobs. We would share that around. So even though we had admin support, I thought it was useful that everybody learns how to do those different tasks, so that if one person's away, someone else isn't getting overwhelmed by all those extra expectations. So the next thing to consider is build micro rest in your day. So a few months ago, I don't know, I was going through a really tired period. My energy was fluctuating, but I was also spending a lot of time traveling on the road and doing the travel camper van adventures and filming those and doing podcasts around that. But I have some days when I was really quite exhausted. And over time, you can get to know your own energy patterns and how much travel and rest you need and how much you can travel before you feel fatigued. And it's important then to think about when your stress might spike and where you're less able to maintain that sense of joviality or homeostasis or just a good feeling state. So take 2 minutes out when you feel like there's a stress spike, where you can feel yourself, your body just spiking up into a way of being that doesn't feel great. Take 2 minutes to breathe, stretch, step outside, or sit in silence. And again, lots of people say, no, I'm really busy and I can't do that. But you owe it to yourself to put in these micro points throughout the day. And then consider, rather than going in the canteen, you can go for a walk round. My son works on a business park and they've got a beautiful lake. And just walking around that, you just start to feel that sense of serenity. And um, when I'm at home in the morning, I might do the stretches. And if I've been sat with the laptop for a few hours, I'll get up and I'll stretch, step outside, listen to the birds. Because in the summer, I spent a lot of time in and out of the garden, and I could hear the birds all the time, and the trees moving, the wind rustling the leaves. And I'm missing that now because all the doors are closed. It's much colder. So we need to get out in a different way and expose ourselves to nature. So these micro pauses regulate your nervous system and keep stress from escalating. So when you make that a priority, you're kind of saying to your brain and your body, your nervous system, mind, body, and spirit, I'm taking I'm taking care of me and I'm taking responsibility for my health and well-being. And it starts, these little steps help integrate better behaviors that will, in the long term, not just reduce stress and overwhelm, but increase our feelings of well-being, expose us to more happiness and joy. There's a counter effect either way. So we reduce the stress, we can increase our feelings of well-being, or at least get some sense of what pushes us back into the stress zone and out of the happiness and contentment zone. And then choose one guiding intention for the holidays. Instead of trying to do everything, choose one theme: peace, presence, ease, joy, simplicity, or connection. So even if you are running out, getting trees, presents, booking holidays, trips to go and see people, organizing things, try focus on what it is you want to get out of the holiday. Maybe you just want ease or peace and joy. And when you have that as an intention, as a focus, we can go back to that each time saying, oh, how am I doing in that? I'm getting really stressed. How did I get here? Right. Let's breathe, let's pause, let's ground, and let's reconnect with the intention that we have. Simplicity. I like simplicity. I like connection. I like presence. So I'm at my best when I'm applying the tools and techniques that I've cultivated over the years, that is about just day to day staying in that flow. And when I'm in flow, uh, I just feel much happier and in a better space. So remember the holiday then. The stress isn't about just what's happening around you. It's also about how much pressure you put on yourself. Give yourself permission to slow down and to simplify and to choose ease. So leave a message or write in your journal which one of these 5 tips do you want to try first and will implement. Set yourself an intention. When you set intentions, we need to keep ourselves accountable. And when you're moving up that scale towards stress, chaos, or spiraling, you need to ask yourself, what is it I need to do right now to pull myself back towards what my intention is? I'd love to hear what this is like, what your experience is like. You can always email me directly to let me know what you think, or you can leave a comment on here. But do like and subscribe to my videos because, of course, it helps the channel and the algorithm. And also press the bell. You'll get the notifications every day that I release one of these videos in this time period. All right. Thank you for listening. Take care, and I'll see you soon.